Keir Starmer's leadership is teetering on the brink of collapse following the revelation of a scandalous new immigration policy that has left the political world in shock. Just weeks after agreeing to cede sovereignty of the Chagos Islands to Mauritius, Starmer has approved a controversial deal to deport illegal migrants arriving at the Chagos Islands to the small British overseas territory of St Helena. This explosive U-turn on migration policy, which mirrors the much-maligned Rwanda deportation plan Starmer previously labelled as immoral, has ignited a political firestorm that threatens to engulf the Labour Party. Before we dive into the depths of this developing scandal, let's break down the timeline of shocking events and revelations. The controversy begins with the Chagos Islands, a British-owned archipelago located in the Indian Ocean. Recently, Starmer's government made the contentious decision to surrender the island's sovereignty to Mauritius, effectively ceding control of the region. Yet, even as this move stirred tensions with British overseas citizens, a new bombshell has dropped. Starmer's government has struck a deal to deport migrants arriving at the islands to another British territory, St Helena. St Helena is an isolated island in the South Atlantic Ocean, home to fewer than 4,500 people. It is a tiny, tight-knit community ill-prepared to handle an influx of hundreds, if not thousands, of migrants. Under the new policy, migrants who arrive at the Chagos Islands via small boats, an echo of the dangerous channel crossings that have plagued UK immigration, will be transported over 5,000 miles to St Helena, where they will be processed and potentially resettled. The Labour leader's decision has drawn sharp comparisons to the controversial Rwanda deportation plan, a strategy Starmer himself previously described as inhumane and completely wrong. Already under fire for a host of policy failures, the Prime Minister now faces mounting criticism from both sides of the political spectrum. Critics argue that this new plan betrays the values Starmer promised to uphold and exposes the hypocrisy of his leadership. How can Starmer justify such a drastic shift in policy when, only months ago, he condemned the Conservative Party for pursuing similar deportation tactics? But the scandal doesn't stop there. The people of St Helena are in uproar, blindsided by this sudden decision that threatens to overwhelm their small island. The local government wasn't consulted before the deal was quietly signed, and the island's infrastructure is already stretched to its limits. Councillor Andrew Turner, a prominent figure on the island, voiced his anger and frustration in a statement to the press. "We are a very small island with limited resources. The idea of hundreds of migrants being dumped on us with no warning is outrageous. Our healthcare, education and housing systems are already struggling to meet the needs of our community." With fewer than 4,500 residents, St Helena is ill-equipped to absorb such a large influx of migrants. The island's limited healthcare facilities, lack of job opportunities, and dependency on tourism make it vulnerable to economic and social disruption. Islanders, who pride themselves on their close-knit community, fear the arrival of hundreds of migrants could cause irreparable damage to their way of life. This is the kind of place where everyone knows each other by name. Bringing in so many outsiders at once will change the fabric of our society, and we weren't even asked if we were okay with it, Turner added. Meanwhile, sources reveal that the UK government has allocated £6.65 million in Treasury funding to St Helena, money intended to address the island's existing healthcare backlog. However, critics argue this funding is little more than a bribe to force the local government into accepting the migrants. Friends of the British Overseas Territories, a campaign group that advocates for the rights of UK territories, has issued a scathing statement condemning the deal. This agreement is nothing short of disgraceful. The UK government is using its financial power to bully St Helena into accepting a deeply unpopular policy. The island's residents were not consulted, and their needs are being ignored. Keir Starmer's government now faces backlash from every angle. On one side, Conservative critics have seized upon this policy as proof of Starmer's hypocrisy. Just months ago, the Labour leader called out the Conservative Party for their offshore migrant processing centres and vowed to offer a more compassionate, human rights-oriented approach. Now, those very critics are accusing Starmer of implementing a policy just as harsh, if not worse. John Redwood, a former Conservative MP, slammed the Labour leader in a fiery statement. "This is nothing more than a rebranded version of the Rwanda plan Starmer was so quick to denounce. His hypocrisy knows no bounds. First, he surrenders the Chagos Islands, and now he's using British territories to solve the very migrant crisis his government has failed to address. On the other side, Starmer is also facing fierce criticism from within his own party. Liberal-leaning Labour MPs, many of whom supported Starmer's leadership on the grounds of his more humane approach to immigration, are furious. One backbench MP, speaking anonymously, called the policy a betrayal of Labour's core values. "This is not what we campaigned for. Starmer promised to restore dignity and humanity to our immigration system, and this policy does the opposite. It's a slap in the face to everything Labour stands for." The scandal is not confined to British shores. Internationally, the deal is raising alarm bells, with some experts warning that it could strain the UK's already fragile diplomatic relations. Yuan Yizhu, an assistant professor of international relations and international law, expressed concerns over the legal ramifications of the deal. "There's an absurd irony in this situation. Mauritius claims sovereignty over the Chagos Islands, yet seems perfectly content to let the UK deport migrants from those islands to another British territory. It's a legal and diplomatic minefield, and it risks damaging the UK's standing on the world stage." Further complicating the situation, some political analysts are warning that this policy could embolden authoritarian regimes. Dr. Scott Tinker, an American energy expert and frequent commentator on geopolitical affairs, warned that the UK's reliance on offshore processing might play into the hands of foreign powers. This move sends a message of weakness to authoritarian regimes like Russia and China. If the UK can't handle its own immigration issues and has to outsource its problems, it will lose credibility on the global stage. At the heart of this scandal lies a deeper question. Can Keir Starmer be trusted to lead the country with integrity? His decision to proceed with this migrant deportation deal, despite his previous opposition to such tactics, has left many wondering whether Starmer's leadership is built on empty promises. During his campaign for Prime Minister, Starmer positioned himself as a man of principle, a leader who would restore decency and trust to British politics. But this latest policy flip-flop has cast serious doubt on those claims. How can the public believe in Starmer's vision for Britain when he has so blatantly contradicted his own words? Starmer's political opponents are wasting no time in exploiting the scandal. Nigel Farage, leader of Reform UK, took to social media to lambast the Labour leader. "Keir Starmer is a fraud. He condemned the Tories for their migrant policies, and now he's doing the exact same thing. The people of Britain deserve better than this two-faced hypocrisy." As the fallout from this scandal continues to unfold, Starmer's future hangs in the balance. His handling of the migrant crisis has left him vulnerable to attacks from both his political enemies and his own party. If the backlash continues to grow, Starmer could soon find himself facing calls for his resignation. But one thing is certain: Keir Starmer's leadership is now under siege. The political firestorm ignited by his decision to deport migrants to St Helena is unlikely to die down anytime soon. And as the full scope of this scandal becomes clearer, Starmer's credibility and his ability to lead the country may be permanently damaged.